2010, 2022 is coming to an end with a decline in home prices. And that is something we haven't seen in recent years. So it's natural for the media and everyone else to speculate about what will happen to the real estate market in 2023. After all, this is the time of year when we all take stock of the year past and try to gauge what the new year will bring. I can't talk today. If you watch the news, you will probably think that we're heading for a recession, maybe even a depression in 2023. Enough people are talking about it, so it's got to be true. There are, of course, many signs that we're headed for a recession. High inflation is probably the most significant one. And even though the inflation didn't go up as much as expected last month, it is still pretty high. On the other hand, there are also some signs that shows that we might not be headed for a recession. A strong job market is one. So there are pretty mixed signals. To quote Forbes magazine, it is very confusing, a little bit like middle school. So what are the indicators that shows that we might be going into a recession? Well, a strong US dollar is one of them. While the strong dollar is great when you travel abroad, everything is cheap, your vacation is cheap, everything you buy is cheap, going out for a meal is cheap. It is actually pretty bad for the general economy. One of the problems with a strong dollar is that the dollar value of overseas profits drop as the dollar gains value. For example, if a company has a net profit of £10 million in the UK, that would mean $13 million going into their bank account in January of this year. In September, those same £10 million were only worth about $11 million. So to put that in some kind of perspective that most of us can relate to, that's pretty much like taking a 15% pay cut in 10 months. Or 11 months. 10 months, sorry. So how would that affect us? Well, as individuals, we'll probably cut down on our cost. As companies, they need to cut down on their cost too. So they will adjust their cost. For instance, like Facebook, who've seen this happen to them, they recently announced that they might be reducing their number of employees by as much as 15%. That's 12,000 people just from Facebook being without a job. And they are obviously not the only ones. So most of these people who end up with no job, they will have to reduce their expenses. That in return reduces consumer spending. So you get the picture, I guess. The road to recession is being paved. So while it's not a certainty that we're getting to a recession, it is pretty likely. So what does that mean to you and your mortgage? Does it mean you'll be underwater? That you'll owe more than your mortgage that you own more on your mortgage than your home is worth? Probably not. Even if you bought your home at the height of the housing market, prices would have to drop significantly for you to be underwater. So far this year, prices in Orange County have only dropped about 3.5% compared to when they were at the highest. And what is really noteworthy is, except for 3 months of the last 36 months, the average home price in Orange County has only been higher in June, July, and October of this year than they were in December. The average sale price, final sales, closed sales in Orange County in 2022 is still higher than any other month in the last 3 years except for those 3. Obviously the stats vary by county. For instance, Volusia County, their December 2022 shows that they have the highest sale price in 3 years. There are no other months in the last 36 that have been higher than December of this year. On the other hand, we also have Osceola County that shows a decrease in home prices, with only January of this year being lower than December. But it is worth noting that Osceola County is a little bit different than a lot of other Florida counties. It has a really high concentration of short-term rental properties. And when there's a sign of recession, what is the first thing people cut down on? That's their vacation. So investors in that market will naturally try to pull out before it's too late. So a lot of people have sold their short-term rental properties, and by that pushing down the prices. Overall though, our area, Central Florida and most of the rest of Florida, does not show a significant decrease in home values. It does not show a significant decrease in home values. Quite the opposite. There are signs that despite interest rates continuing to go up, Florida home values hold steady. So what happens when the recession really hits us with that? What will happen to your house prices then? Well, historically, and this is pretty comforting, Since the last Great Depression in 1929, only 2 other recessions have caused falling house prices, 1990 and 2008. All other recessions have meant steady home values or even rising home values. That's another reason that Florida homeowners shouldn't worry too much about declining home prices. And I got one more for you. Since 2012, it's been common belief that about 1,000 people move to Florida daily. But according to the Sarasota Herald Tribune, a recent survey data from US Census Bureau shows that that number is likely to be way higher than that. And to us that live here, that is not really surprising. Florida is a great place to live and work. The weather is excellent most of the time, there are no income taxes, and home prices are still lower than in many other states. This is exactly why especially retirees and remote workers are continuing to move to Florida in greater and greater numbers. So, for home buyers, it is unlikely that the recession will mean that they would be underwater on their mortgage. Even with a 4% drop in average home prices, only 3.4% of all homeowners nationwide will be underwater, according to Redfin. In some areas of Florida, this number is only 0.5%, or practically zero. In most of Florida, the number of homeowners that will be underwater on their mortgage is somewhere between 0.5 and 3.4%. So, very few of you will be underwater if the home prices drop by 4%, and even if they do, you will get back up again in a few years' time, most likely. I hope you found this useful. Please feel free to comment below and send me a message if you have any questions. I'm here to answer all your real estate questions. Thank you so much for watching.